What's going on, beautiful people? And welcome back to another comic book related video. I'm your majestic sayer of words, SuperCliff, and if you guys are new to this channel, then do me a solid by smashing that like and subscribe button, and also hit that notification bell so that you'll never miss out on an upload, and so that you will always be kept up to date with your favorite top tier comics happening in the comic book world. And today, folks, this video is a full story video featuring the one and only Shang-Chi. And this story arc is Shang-Chi versus the Marvel Universe. And so, without further ado, enjoy the video. Let's get weird. As our story begins sometime in the near future, where both Shang-Chi and his sister Esma, aka Sister Dagger, are about to combat the wall crawler himself, Spider-Man. But wait just 1 minute, because aren't Chang and Spidey like kung fu buddies? What could have possibly had driven these two friends to fight one another? Well, hang on to your butts, folks, because we're about to turn back the clocks and travel back in time, hours prior to this terrible situation, where earlier, on this lovely majestic night in the city of New York, the Big Apple, Shang-Chi grew a sack of courage, balls of steel, if you will, and is having a romantic dinner date with the lovely Delilah Wang, whom Chang met while working the bakery over in San Francisco during last year's Shang-Chi miniseries. And while young love blossoms, Chang unfortunately keeps getting interrupted by Sister Dagger's texts regarding a tried drug runner whom she's chasing. Because remember guys, ever since Chang has taken over control of his father's organization, Chang and his siblings, Sister Dagger and Brother Saber, are dedicated towards undoing their father's evil work, which includes a drug ring that's located right here in New York. So Chang has assigned Sister Dagger to tail the drug runner while he's on a date, because you know, he's the supreme commander and he can do that. But just as Chang is about to get a hero's kiss, they are sadly interrupted by the arrival of the tried runner's face implanted against the restaurant's window. And so basically, as a result of this, Chang ends the date. Once outside, Chang is met with Sister Dagger, and as the two siblings argue about Chang's responsibilities as the Supreme Commander, along with the concept of love being irrelevant, and if when Chang ever decides that he's ready to propagate, therefore the organization will happily provide him with copious amounts of concubines, the triad drug guy in the background begins to wake up. However, the only difference is that this dude's ability to kill has been severely upgraded by some magical root shown within his possession. Therefore, as a result, the man develops claws. Yet despite this upgrade, Chang easily kicks the guy's face in. Dagger then searches the man, and she ends up finding a strange spider-like device tagged onto him. And Chang, he recognizes it, knowing just who exactly it belongs to. Now, with Sister Dagger being a bit more violent when dealing with criminals, she begins threatening the man with a knife to his neck. But suddenly spiderwebbing steals Dagger's knife, and it's here where the two warriors are met with the arrival of New York's friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. However, Sister Dagger doesn't like it when weirdos who are dressed up in tights steal her shit, so she immediately charges to attack. But Chang quickly puts himself in the middle and manages to de-escalate the situation. Now keep in mind, because though Chang and Spidey are friends, Chang tells Dagger to keep it down with the whole weapon society and calling him supreme leader. And that's clearly due to the fact that Chang, though he's using his father's organization as a force for good, everyone knows Chang's dad's a piece of shit. And Chang, he just doesn't want to get into it right now. Plus, he's probably embarrassed that him and his siblings were raised in a kung fu cult-like setting. Basically, Chang is trying to look cool in front of his superhero friends. And although Sister Dagger is like, wow, you're embarrassed of me, she reluctantly goes along with it. Sister Dagger, meanwhile, starts threatening the triad once more, demanding the location of the drug ring's headquarters. Now, eventually the guy gives in and reveals that the location is a TCM shop, which stands for Traditional Chinese Medicine. And so, Spider-Man suggests that since the two of them are looking for the same place, perhaps they should team up like old times. But remember, Chang is trying to keep his family's organization away from a superhero life. And so we can see that Chang is being hesitant towards accepting. But Spider-Man insists, like, bro, it will be fun, trust me, like, it's the least I can do, like, for my old kung fu master. Afterwards, our three heroes arrive at the drug ring's location, and as both Spider-Man and Shang-Chi venture around the back, Sister Dagger goes straight through the front door, where she is then greeted by the shop store clerk. Now, Esme, she gets right to the point, telling the old man to cut the charade because, bro, we know that this place is a front for drugs. Now, in response, the old man, rather than appearing concerned, tells Dagger a story when long ago, back when he was in China, when he was a young boy. Nope, not that kind of story, but still, back when he was still but a young servant boy in the house of a rich and powerful man, his life changed when one afternoon he came across a carcass of a Yeren, nicknamed the Chinese Yeti. And so the boy brought it back to his master, and from its DNA, he created the Yeren root. Therefore, under his master's teachings, the old man started a life for himself, right here in New York, with the Yeren root as the cornerstone of his business. Now, the reason why this man was so fascinated with the Yeren was because the creature looked to him like a man who desired to be an animal, and throughout his life, the man sought to be what he wasn't. And so thanks to his master, Zhang Zhu, Shang-Chi and Sister Dagger's father, the storekeeper has been able to fulfill his desires. And it's why the people call him King Wildman. And it's with that, where the seemingly innocent old man jumps at Emmy with bear-like claws. Elsewhere, we pick up with Spidey and Chang as they begin searching the back way of the shop, and the two come across a warehouse filled with people and armed with guards, prepping up large amounts of Yeren root, likely to sell to various criminals throughout New York. Now, unfortunately, Spider-Man, he accidentally activates the security alarms, and immediately bullets begin to fly everywhere. But after a session of superhero team-up, our heroes are able to web up the bad guys just in time for Sister Dagger to call down for her brother, and she tells them that Spider-Man was right about the weapon and drug ring being the same, because the Yeren root is both the drug and the weapon, as it's able to turn people into monsters. Now, Spider-Man, being friendly and all, he attempts to help the old man back on his feet, but King Wildman tricks Spidey and sticks a Yeren root right on the Wallcrawler's face, turning him into a four-armed monster. And this is where we pick up from the issue's beginning, as we now know the reason and the context as to why Spidey and Chang are fighting. Now, eventually, after a little finesse and brother and sister team up, Chang and his sister manage to subdue Spider-Man, allowing Chang to rip the Yeren root right off his face, turning Spider-Man back to his normal self. And so, as Chang is helping Spider-Man get back on his feet, Sister Dagger tells Chang that all these crates bear the insignia of the Five Weapon Society. Basically, everything here was developed by their group. Now, Spider-Man hears this and is like, wait, what? Chang, bro, what are you not telling me, dude? But Chang is like, don't worry about it, it's trivial matters. But this pisses off Sister Dagger, and Emmy, she rips Chang a new one, telling him to screw off, and that she's tired of his actions because she feels like Chang is ashamed of his family, ashamed of her. Shang-Chi then decides to say, fuck it, and starts to reveal everything to Spider-Man, telling Spidey that he's the new leader of his father's organization. And as Chang is giving Spidey the rundown, Sister Dagger's warriors come down through the roof and begin to confiscate the place and purge the Yeren root from further usage. Eventually, once the last of the root has been disposed of, Shang-Chi begins to head out with his warriors. But before he leaves, Spider-Man asks him a question, wondering if he's still one of us, one of the heroes. And Chang responds, what does your spider sense tell you? And it tells him nothing. And it's with that where Shang-Chi takes off. Next, we pan over to King Wildman, who's running from rooftop to rooftop across Chinatown. And he's pissed, for his life's work has been destroyed in just one night. Everything has been dismantled. And as all hope seems to be lost for this villain, he's eventually greeted by some unknown individual, someone who's cloaked in shadow, and is offering King Wildman a pathway to revenge. Ooh, spooky. Alrighty folks, so this issue takes us to the southern coast of China, and flying above the city of Maku is Shang-Chi and his Five Women Society flagship. Now Chang, he's been using his father's organization, its resources, in order to help make the world a better place. And that's exactly what Chang is doing at the moment, using his father's resources as a means to help benefit the world. Because the word is that the Iron 88 Casino, a secret triad base, have recently obtained the Cosmic Cube, which of course is one of the most powerful objects within the Marvel Universe. And tonight, the casino is auctioning the cube off to the highest bidder. And almost every single person attending this event are criminals. Criminals affiliated with the organizations such as AIM, those within Hydra, and the Hand. And so the idea here is for Chang to outbid them all using his father's wealth, and to prevent the cube from falling into criminal hands. Now, where in the last issue, Sister Dagger accompanied Chang to confiscate the Yeren root, this time we have Brother Saber tagging along. Now, Takashi is shown to be acting nervous, but we'll touch base on that in a bit as we progress further within the story. Now, as these two make their way over to the auction, keep in mind that Maku is basically China's Vegas. The only difference is Maku pulls in 5 times the revenue. So in other words, this spot is fresh and extremely polished. So yeah, this place is ballin'. with all the monies. Now, upon arriving at the Casino 88, with Chang and Takashi pulling up like a couple of bosses, it's announced that the Five Weapons Society is here to party. Now, at the same time, we get a sense at how all these people from these many different criminal organizations react to Chang representing his father's organization. And it's abundantly made clear that a majority of these people are not happy, especially one particular Hydra agent who is still holding a grudge regarding the time Chang punched his throat, which made him sound like a chipmunk for over a month, which, by the way, is hilarious, but I digress. Now, regardless of how those within Hydra or AIM feel about Chang's presence, the fact of the matter is that during this moment, the circumstances are vastly different. Therefore, everyone's pre-existing knowledge of Shang-Chi's history has to be put off to the side, because Shang-Chi isn't here as an Avenger, nor is he here as the Master of Kung Fu. Shang-Chi is here as Brother Han, the leader of the Five Weapons Society. Now, remember how I mentioned that I would explain as to why Brother Saber is acting so nervous? Well, check it, because it's here where we learn the reason why. Because we're eventually met with the auction's host, Lady Iron Fan, whom we learn is Takashi's ex-girlfriend, and that she was the one who gave him the necklace. And yeah, it's obvious that Takashi is still crushing on his ex, hence his nervousness. Afterwards, Takashi runs over to Chang, who turned down the champagne that was offered. Takashi explains to him that it's rude to not accept a glass at these sort of events, but also at the same time, bro, you shouldn't drink it, just pretend to. And yeah, I know it's weird, but you know what, dude? It's just how things are done in this life. And within a matter of moments, we see as to why this is the case, because someone from the Inner Demons takes an actual sip of champagne and immediately drops dead on the floor. Now, it's here where the auction for the Cosmic Cube begins, starting it off with $4 billion. And within seconds, bid after bid after bid, the price rises to $10 billion. Now, Chang is determined, thus he declares his bid for $20 billion. But unfortunately, it doesn't end here, folks, because the hand surprisingly raises the bid to $30 billion. And this is completely unexpected because, according to Chang, this wasn't supposed to happen, because he did his research prior to tonight. He knew the exact amount of money that he had to spend, along with knowing the amount the rival organizations could spend as well. Therefore, Chang suspects that the hand are possibly lying about the amount of money that they are willing to bid. Lady Iron Fan then reminds everyone present that the consequences of bidding beyond their means can be quite dire. And as she's saying this, one of her assistants whispers to her ear, asking if she is ready to pull up the body bags. So seemingly Lady Iron Fan is also aware that those representing the hand are probably full of shit. Yet despite everyone's skepticism, the hand informs Lady Iron Fan that the Inner Demon, who we all saw get poisoned earlier, had allegedly, quote, prior to his death, graciously gifted the Iron Demon's resources over to the hands. So in other words, the hand coerced the Inner Demon's cash flow by using murder. And so as it stands, Chang has no clue on what to do next, for he doesn't have enough money to exceed $30 billion. And so just as the hand are about to win the Cosmic Cube, Chang reaches for his cuff in a very subtle manner. Don't worry, folks, we'll touch on that in a bit. And boom, Captain America, the Star-Spangled Avenger himself, comes smashing through the casino. And it's made obviously clear that Captain America is here for the Cosmic Cube. And it's because of this abrupt disruption where the entire room turns into chaos, with many of those among Hydra and AIM accusing Chang for possibly leaking tonight's auction out to the Avengers. But in response, Takashi smashes the same Hydra agent who was complaining earlier about his throat. So yeah, suck it, Hydra. Afterwards, Chang goes after Cap, who's already snatched up the Cosmic Cube. And with Chang demanding Cap to turn over the cube, it catches Cap completely off guard, leaving him shocked and confused to see Shang-Chi here of all places. And it definitely proves to be a reminder that not a lot of people amongst the superhero community are aware of Chang's current status quo. But it's because of this moment that Chang is easily able to kick the cube right out of Cap's hand, so that he can then take it for himself. And so once Chang takes the Cosmic Cube, Chang activates it and begins harnessing the cube into creating an illusion that makes all the villains like Madam Hydra, MODOK, and the Hand, along with many others, think that Chang's being chased after by Captain America. So in natural response, all the villains begin to chase them down as well. However, once the villains follow Cap into the next room, they find Chang standing over Cap's dead body. And it's here within seconds when the illusion begins to fade. And it's here where the bad guys realize that they've been locked in one of the casino's vaults, along with a bomb of sleeping gas. Now, this is where things get pretty cool, because it's here where we find out that Chang had called Cap by using the communicator on his cufflink. But with everything else that followed, with locking the villains in the vault, that was all on the spot. Heroic improvisation. But it's here where Takashi tells Chang that he understands the reason of trying to keep the Cosmic Cube away from everyone else, but he tells him that working alongside Captain America isn't a good look. But we also learned during this conversation that Chang put this contingency into place because he wanted to make sure that the Cosmic Cube was leaving here in good hands, Cap's hands. And we can tell just by looking at Takashi's face that he's a bit annoyed because this wasn't part of the plan. Now, this is where a Lady Iron fan shows up, and she tells both Chang and Takashi that what they've done here today is insulting. Insulting to the extreme. Like not even those within Hydra would pull off a stunt like the one they just did. Therefore, their punishment is death. And with that, Lady Iron fan launches her attacks against our heroes. And this fight is fierce, because not only is Lady Ironheart capable of wielding these war-slashing katana-like fans, she's also possesses some sort of mind control capability over the fans, so that instead of a 1 versus 3 fight, it's actually 3 versus 3. And yeah, throughout these panels, we get to see a lot of kicking, punching, grunting, a lot of twirling, and we also get to see Cap pass the shield over the Chang so that he can block one of Lady Ironfan's attacks. Now, fortunately, as the fight progresses, Chang is able to end this fight with a swift punch to the face. And alas, the villainous fan-wielding Danger is down for the count. From there, Takashi picks up the Cosmic Cube and he hands it over to Cap, honoring his word, even though he doesn't want to. And with it, Cap radios over for backup. Thus, the night becomes a victory for the ages. However, things get a bit more tense because once we pick back up with Chang and Takashi, the two end up getting into an argument regarding Chang not telling him about Captain America in the first place. And the reason isn't because, oh, well, now our organization doesn't have the Cosmic Cube. It's more due to the fact that, at the end of the day, Chang and Takashi are brothers. And so the fact that Chang didn't even include Takashi into his plans makes him feel like Chang doesn't trust him. And so once Chang ends the conversation and walks away, we find out here that Takashi actually has the Cosmic Cube in his possession. And what we just saw with Cap, Takashi had basically duped Captain America. And we jump over into Cap's Quinjet, where we see Lady Ironfan in his custody. But just like that, she begins to disappear right before Cap's eyes. And it's here where Cap realizes that he's just been played. Afterwards, we see the actual Lady Ironfan chatting about with her minions, and though she's grateful that Brother Saber had used the cube to orchestrate her escape, she's worrying about her casino, along with all the revenue that she was supposed to make, but now can't. But it's here with the shadowy figure who showed up in the previous issue is here to meet with Lady Ironfan. For this shadowy figure wants Lady Ironfan to help burn down the 5-Weapon Society to the ground. Alrighty folks, so our story starts off in the Mocris Lake, Canary National Park in Ireland. And it's here where we have ourselves this tourist couple who are being taken across the lake by this old tour guide. And I don't know why, but for some strange reason, this old man is giving me those Dizzy vibes from Gears of War. Side note, I love that character. The name's Dizzy, and my rig's a sweet little thing named Betty. And whilst on their way, the boyfriend, probably as a means in wanting to impress his girl, takes a bite out of his candy bar and simply throws it into the water like a badass. Like, take that, Earth. Meh, you can't tell me what to do. You don't know me. But immediately upon doing this, the old man freaks out, telling the boyfriend that what you just did, son, is insanely dangerous. But we quickly learn that it isn't because the old man cares about the environment, go green go, rather, it's mainly due to the giant lagoon monster named Mucky, who lives in the bottom of the lake. And because Mucky smells candy, the beast from the deep is hungry. Now, where the young couple are freaking out, like to the maximum, surprisingly the old man doesn't seem to be that terrified. Rather, he's just annoyed, and he tells the couple that they're going to be alright just as long as she arrives soon. And this is where we pan over from across the lake and see a mysterious woman, to whom the locals refer to as the Lake Witch. And as she makes her entrance known, she begins playing the flute, which as a result holds back the creature from eating the people. Yet while this is all happening, the boyfriend whips out his phone and starts making a YouTube video. And after uploading the clip to YouTube or to his TikTok, the old terrorist man takes the dude's phone and breaks it like a boss. Because the people who live in the area, they have an agreement a mutual understanding with the Lake Witch. She protects them and vice versa. Basically, the community keeps her whereabouts a secret. Later on, we see the character known as Jake Paul calling out the Lake Witch for a boxing match. I'm just kidding. Although I might actually pay money to see that happen. I digress. But yeah, this is when we pan over to New York City, where we see that Shang-Chi has just finished the construction of a new house of the Daily Hand. And while Esme's sister Dagger and Takashi, brother Saber, are chatting it up with Shang-Chi, Master Ling walks in and tells Chang that a video is currently trending on the tweet, aka Twitter, and that it's something he should definitely check out. And as it turns out, the video that the guy posted prior has gone viral. Everyone around the world knows about the Lake Witch. And upon seeing this footage, Chang is the only one who seems to have no idea as to who this woman is. But he quickly learns out that the Lake Witch is another one of Chang's half-sisters. Chang then learns that her name is Jillian, and she's originally from the House of the Deadly Staff. And years back, their father had sent Takashi to kill her, for reasons which we'll talk about later on. Yeah, I know, anticipation, but deal with it. But besides that, the other reason was that she wanted to make changes within her father's organization, much like Chang's doing at the moment. But Daddy was like, get fucked, little girl, and thus he sent Takashi after her. However, this was one of Takashi's first missions as the leader of the House of the Deadly Saber. So we soon learned that he intentionally failed mission in order to let his sister live. However, ever since that mission, he's kept a piece of her flute with him to serve as a reminder of his failing. So yeah, he basically regrets his decision that he made all those years ago. Yet despite that, because with hearing this, Chang is like, okay, well, we're gonna pick her up so we can all work together, unite our family as one. And so from there, the group travels to Ireland, where the Lake Witch has been last seen. And here we see the broken flute piece that Takashi kept. And basically he's using the piece as some sort of tracking device, because after his encounter all those years ago, Takashi had Master Lin put a spell on it so that the broken piece would be compelled to be whole of Jian's flute, thereby leading it back to her. Along their way, they see a ton of locals protesting about how the Lake Witch needs to go. And at first, this might seem as a whatever moment, but hold on to your butts, folks, because this links quite well to Jian and her character as a whole. And so as the trio make their way through the forest, Jillian shows up, taking back the missing piece of her flute staff. And because Takashi's here, she's led to believe that they're all here to kill her. Thus, with her flute staff back in full power, she quickly uses it, immediately detaining our heroes, keeping them in restraint. However, Sister Dagger is able to loosen her hand, and she manages to throw a dagger, causing Jillian to lose concentration, resulting in Takashi becoming free. And because he still wants to prove his loyalty, he goes in for the kill. However, Takashi's blade is immediately blocked by Wolverine's claws, who, by the way, no one was in any way expecting to show up. Like, the fact that Wolverine is here, out of all places, is completely random. But with Wolverine blocking the attack, he begins to tell everyone that due to the video going viral across the internet, Logan was sent here by Beast to defend Jillian. But before he can explain any further, Esme attacks Wolverine with a bunch of daggers to keep him away from her brother. And very soon after that, Chang jumps in to do the same thing. And thus the fight between Shang-Chi and Wolverine begins. And holy crap, is this fight going full-on Fury Road. Now during their fight, Wolverine mentions that he's heard rumors about Chang taking over his father's organization, and so he wonders if Chang is working with the Friends of Humanity, which, in case y'all didn't know, in the X-Men books, the Friends of Humanity are extremely anti-mutant, and ever since the King in Black event, they've also become anti-alien. So yeah, the more you know. And while Wolverine continues to dish out more and more accusations, Chang in response is trying to figure out as to what Wolverine is trying to get at here. Meanwhile, Esme, in the background, tells Logan that his people, meaning the people of Krakoa, mutants, shouldn't interfere with the affairs of the Five Weapon Society. Yet Wolverine explains that his people are the prime reason as to why he's here, because Jillian is a mutant. Therefore, by Krakoa law, she is under Wolverine's protection. And this immediately throws everyone off, because no one knew, including Takashi, even Jillian herself, no one knew she was a mutant. And it's because of this, we understand as to why Zhang Zhu wanted Jillian taken out, because she was a mutant. And according to Takashi, their father taught them while growing up that mutant kind has the potential to become the most devastating colonial power in the entire world. And so because Zhang Zhu was so anti-mutant, he basically indoctrinated his children into becoming anti-mutant as well, all except Shang-Chi, of course. And so because of their father's teaching, and having been raised in the tradition that mutants are bad, Takashi and Esme go in for the kill, while Wolverine prepares to counter. But fortunately, Chang is able to block and disarm everyone's attack, disarming Takashi and Esme's saber and daggers, whilst kicking Wolverine across the face, sending him over the cliff's edge. But luckily, Chang is able to save him in the nick of time. Afterwards, Chang manages to catch up with Jilan, who ran away during the fighting, and he lets her know that he's in charge. I killed Zhang Zhu. I am the new supreme leader of the 5 Weapon Society, and I was told by Master Lang that you are of a like mind, and you wanted the same changes that I currently want. So let's forgive and forget, and let's work together as one. And after speaking with Chang, Jilan lets Wolverine know that though she appreciates Krakoa's invitation, she's decided to go for family. Now at this point, this is where all those protesters who we saw earlier start to converge on their location, because they're out for, quote, mutant blood. And so as a means to help Chang and his family escape, Wolverine lets them know that he's got this, and that he'll hold them back so that they can make their escape. But before Jilan leaves, he tells her that whenever you change your mind or if you decide that where you are in life is not good enough, the offer still stands, girl. Switching over to New York, while Jilan is playing her flute, Chang, Takashi, and Esme are discussing the current situation. And with Takashi still being skeptical, this is where Master Lin steps in, and he lets them know that when the society was originally created, the group was founded by a group of rebels who trained under the mystic arts during the Qing dynasty, whom considered this act of practice to be illegal and therefore dangerous to their rule. So in a way, it's very similar in the way in which Chang is running things now. And much how the mystic arts were accepted back in the day, so too can mutants now. And thus, with that point of view taken into consideration, both Takashi and Esme eventually accept their sister. But it's later that night, while Jilan is sleeping, where she's immediately woken up by the mysterious cloaked individual, whom we've seen at the end of every single issue, and he's offering her a proposition, that being the destruction of the 5 Weapon Society, because at the end of the day, this person doesn't believe that the organization can be saved nor reformed. In the end, it needs to be burnt to the ground. Alrighty folks, so we start off this issue by entering this dream, this recurring mystical dream that Shang-Chi has been having, which is apparently the 4th night in a row. And every time this dream occurs, dude sees the same exact thing each and every time, that being Shang himself standing in front of the original House of the Deadly Hand, which in real time had disappeared from China many years ago. Hence also as to why Shang in the previous issue built a new house within the city of New York, NYC baby. Now what's also funky about these dreams is that whenever Shang enters the House of the Deadly Hand, he always sees a mysterious woman, conveniently cloaked in shadow, which by the way, plot-wise, is super convenient, and she's always sitting in his father's throne, calling out for Shang-Chi. And so whenever this part of the dream occurs, Shang is always led to believe that this woman is in truth his sister, Shi Hao, aka Sister Hammer, whom we last saw in the previous arc where she ended up getting defeated by Shang-Chi and has since then been declared MIA, missing in action. But also, whenever this part of the dream happens, it's also when the dream abruptly stops. And so because Shang deep down believes that these dreams are some kind of premonition, a sort of calling, he confronts Master Ling about them. Now remember folks, though we haven't seen Sister Hammer since the ending of the previous arc, Sister Hammer is still considered to be the 5th part of the 5 Weapon Society. So basically she's the missing piece, since the group is currently at 4. And with this being the 4th dream in a row for Shang, we are told by Master Ling that among their culture and along with various other Eastern cultures, the number 4 represents death. And so with all these 4s popping up, it's not a good sign. Therefore, from Master Ling's analysis, he believes that Sister Hammer is trying to communicate with her brother. However, upon Master Ling performing a sort of memory spell in order to make sure that his theory is correct, he discovers that within Shang's dream, the weird cosmic sky that's featured within it, well, it wasn't just there for the cliche dream setting but rather because the original House of Deadly Hand is trapped within a negative zone. Therefore, this begs the question, how the hell did it end up within a negative zone? Now Shang-Chi, he's a pretty capable person. He's the master of Kung Fu. However, he is not the master of the negative zone. And so because he needs someone's professional opinion, Shang-Chi ends up calling up Mr. Fantastic for some professional advice. And when telling Reed that he needs to get to the negative zone, believing that his sister is trapped within, Reed initially is willing to help. But once Chang mentions Master Ling, his sorcerer, Reed is like, hell no. Sorry, Shang, but yeah, I cannot help you. Now, this isn't because Reed hates magic or anything of that nature. It has more to do with the fact that regarding the 5-Weapon Society, and with Shang having taken over, Reed just doesn't feel comfortable helping Shang-Chi with it, which, in effect, benefits an organization that possesses a nefarious reputation. Therefore, with Reed turning down Shang, we later see Shang and his 3 siblings, disguised as your everyday tourists, visiting the Baxter Building, the home of the Fantastic Four. Because if Reed isn't willing to help, then Shang-Chi and his family will have to reach the negative zone via a stealth-like approach. Now, at this point in time, the Fantastic Four are currently off-world, doing something science-y or something. Therefore, the team's absence provides Shang and his family an easy chance to sneak in and to approach Reed's laboratory. Now, another thing to keep in mind is that the group, via the resources of their organization, they possess the blueprints detailing the Baxter Building, thus allowing the group to easily find and locate certain machines that they'll need in order to venture through the negative zone. And, let's be honest, mostly everything that's located within Reed's lab is stuff only Reed himself can possibly comprehend. Thus, with his possession of intel, Shang-Chi finds a machine that will take him to where he needs to venture to. And so with Shang-Chi and Sister Dagger, Brother Saber and Sister Staff making their way into the negative zone, the group utilizes a mystical compass, a device constructed by Master Ling, in order to help direct the group towards their destination, the original House of the Deadly Hand. But with finding the house and entering it, they are immediately attacked by bugs, which was obviously bound to happen since the zone is notoriously known for being filled with bugs, basically anything that's affiliated with the Annihilation Wave. And so after the group manages to squash the bugs, Shang realizes that the House of the Deadly Hand isn't made out of your typical parts such as wood or stone, but rather the house is built with some sort of organic-like substance, which clearly was not the case when it came to the original house. Following this revelation, Shang punches his way through one of the organic walls, and as Shang continues to make his way, he begins to hear music playing in the background. However, the music that's playing is an old song Shang remembers listening to back when he was a kid. Eventually, Shang finds out that a woman is playing the music, and similar to his dream, the woman calls out Shang's name. And alas, we discover that the woman is Jean Li, Shang-Chi's mother, which is a big deal because Shang believed his mother to have been dead for many, many years. Now, another thing to keep in mind is this. Shang's dad, Zhang Zhu, dude had multiple wives, multiple mistresses. Therefore, Shang's mother is not the mother of either Sister Dagger or Brother Saber. Just an FYI. Now here Shang explains his confusion because the way in which he remembers his mother dying was during an argument between Shang's parents, which led to fighting, only to lead to his dad beating her to death. However, his mom tells him that that's not what happened, and she lets Shang know that rather than getting punched to death, she was banished to the negative zone, and in order to survive, she had to form a psychonic bond with the native creatures, which is apparently an ability her people have developed over many generations. And so over time, with the help of the creatures, she was able to rebuild a new home, a replica of the original House of the Deadly Hand. Afterwards, Shang and the others make their way out of the negative zone, returning back to the Baxter Building. Now upon them getting out, we see Shang's mother completely out of it, which is due to the effects of having been trapped in the negative zone for so long. But on top of that, Shang and his family are soon met with the arrival of the Fantastic Four. Thus, a fight ensues. Now remember folks, because as we've learned earlier, the number 4 means death. And so with them fighting the Fantastic Four, they refer Marvel's family as the Fantastic Death, which obviously pisses off the Thing. Now eventually the fight ends with Reed doing his head stretch maneuver as a means of calming things down. And once everyone sort of takes a moment to collect themselves and whatnot, Sister Dagger pulls out a smoke grenade, thereby allowing our characters to escape the Baxter Building unseen. Afterwards, Reed calls Captain America and tells him what happened, and it's through this scene where we see the trust that the Marvel heroes have for Shang-Chi is in question. Dun dun dun! Later on, back at the new House of the Deadly Hand, we learn from Master Ling that Shang's mother is going to need some time to get situated, since her mind is currently scrambled. But it's after Shang and Master Ling leave Jing Li alone It's where we see the mysterious cloaked individual approaching Shang's mother. However, unlike the other times where we have seen every single new character be invited by this dark figure, we learn that Shang's mother is aware of who is speaking. Shang-Chi's mother knows who this guy really is. Alrighty folks, so our story picks up with Shang-Chi as Mr. Red Dot, who is an arms dealer, as well as an old associate of Shang's father, arrives at the new house of the Deadly Hand with a weapon that he thinks will fetch a handsome reward. But as he's about to showcase the weapon to Shang-Chi, things get tense when Shang tells the man that not only does he know who the item belongs to, but that the authorities will be arriving here soon to return it. Thus, with this declaration, it causes the men to attack. And after a small action sequence of Shang just obliterating Mr. Red Dot and his men, Brother Saber, Sister Dagger, and Sister Staff arrive at the scene, only to find Shang standing on top of the bodies of Mr. Red Dot and his men. Shang then asks his siblings to disarm the men and to take them into the interrogation room. Shang's siblings then find themselves to be played by their prisoners when they activate a decommissioned Iron Man suit that begins to attack them. Meanwhile, Shang visits his mother, whose years in the negative zone have taken a toll on her. Shang tells her that a bug is on her face, to which she replies that the bug is not hurting her. Instead, it's making her feel less lonely, which is pretty weird, but I digress. Shang then asks her whether it helps be at home, to which she tells Shang that this place isn't home, that this city, this planet, nor this dimension, none of it is her home, as she reveals to him that her home is in another dimension. Shang then asks whether taking her back there would help her to get healthy, but she says that she cannot return, for she has to stay here to protect Shang. And while Shang and his mother continue to talk, an intruder bursts through the window. Shang tells his mother to run and to get to safety. And it's here where we see the intruder is none other than Iron Man himself. Upon his arrival, Tony Stark makes small talk as he asks Shang-Chi as to what he's been up to besides, taking over his father's criminal organization. This sarcastic humor angers Shang as he tells Iron Man that he should have called instead of trespassing into the house of the Deadly Hand, which causes Shang to attack Iron Man. Back in the interrogation room, Shang's siblings are fighting the decommissioned Iron Man suit. Esme then throws a dagger, which seems to decapitate the suit, but unfortunately it doesn't seem to do the trick. Meanwhile, Shang lures Iron Man to his basement. Iron Man says that human fists are nothing compared to his suit, and that Shang cannot beat him, to which Shang replies that, he can't, unless he's in his element. Shang then attacks Iron Man with throwing stars and adamantium plate staffs, which overwhelm Tony. Iron Man hits Shang with his repulsor cannons, acknowledging that although Shang is good in hand-to-hand combat, this fight is not hand-to-hand combat. Shang then counters the repulsor cannons by deflecting them with a chain and strikes Tony's left glove with a crowbar, breaking it apart from the rest of his suit and putting it on himself. Thus, there is a standoff between Shang-Chi and Iron Man, both aiming the repulsor cannons at one another. As Shang remarks that this feels pretty hand-to-hand to him, Iron Man acknowledges that Shang is clever and that he still can't figure out how Shang was able to steal one of his suits. Shang replies that the suit was not stolen by them. It was brought to them by an arms dealer without their consent, stating the fact that the Five Weapons Society is no longer the same organization that it was under his father's rule. Tony then asks him to prove what he's saying is true, to which Chang replies that he was in the process of doing just that before Iron Man came bursting through his window, and that all he can offer at the moment is his word. Tony trusts his word, and together they walk to the interrogation room, where Shang's siblings have completely dismantled and destroyed the suit while fighting it. They also inform Chang that Mr. Red Dot and his men escaped in the process. Iron Man then apologizes for thinking that Shang's were the wrong hands of which his suit had fallen into, which Chang accepts. Iron Man then flies out of the house of the Deadly Hand with what's left of his suit. Tony then gets a call back from Mr. Red Dot asking him how he thought of their performance and whether or not, he will fix Red Dot's bionic eye. Tony praises them for their acting skills and says that he will get back in touch with them later on. Later on, Iron Man arrives at Avengers Tower to meet up with Captain America, Mr. Fantastic, and Spider-Man. He tells him that Shang-Chi lied to his face and that he didn't steal the suit. Cap remarks that Tony also lied, but Tony replies that his lie was for a good cause. Tony then says that ever since Shang-Chi joined the Five Weapons Society, they've all been wondering whether or not Shang will change the society for the better, or will the society change Shang for the worse. Reed Richards asks Tony for his conclusion, to which Tony replies saying that he has definite proof that Shang-Chi and the Five Weapon Society had stolen the Cosmic Cube and that they've kept it within a different country, as he shows the group a map of Japan. Alrighty folks, so our story picks up at the House of the Deadly Saber, just outside of Tokyo, Japan, and with Brother Saber showing Shang-Chi and his sisters the replica of the 10-fist sword of, I'm gonna butcher that name, so there it is, the God of Blades and Thunder, which was forged by their father in hopes of harnessing the power of a god. And although it doesn't work to that degree, they feel that the sword must be treated with reverence. Afterwards, Shang gets word from a guard running in that their house is about to be attacked by the Avengers. And alas, we see Captain America, Spider-Man, Mr. Fantastic, and Iron Man attacking the House of the Deadly Saber, with Cap ordering Shang-Chi to hand over the Cosmic Cube. Now Shang admires Cap's directness in getting straight to the point, and he means no disrespect, but if the cube was lost in the Avengers' possession, then it is their responsibility. Reed Richards tries to reason with Shang to not make the situation any harder than it needs to be, for their sensors trace the cube to their location. Meanwhile, Spidey hopes that this is all some sort of mix-up because he really likes Shang-Chi and so he doesn't want any conflict. But sadly, Iron Man has had enough, and he gives an ultimatum. Either surrender the Cosmic Cube to the Avengers right here and right now, or they will tear the House of Deadly Saber brick by brick until they find it. Chang asks Brother Saber if there's any truth to their claim, since Brother Saber was the one who allegedly gave the Cosmic Cube over to Captain America back in issue 2. However, Brother Saber reasons that their father has always told them that the Westerners tend to lie, and he tells Shang that they are lying. Shang-Chi acknowledges that Brother Saber is offended by Iron Man's rude implications, and that he believes that they are simply mistaken. Either way, the Avengers now have to leave the premises. And with that, Shang-Chi lands the first blow against Iron Man, and immediately it becomes an all-out battle between Shang-Chi and his siblings versus the Avengers. Now, Iron Man threatens that the last time they fought, Tony held back, but he's not going to do it this time. And so Iron Man makes the call, and he brings down the thunder. And thus we see Thor, the god of thunder, landing directly on the house, bringing down the thunder from the sky. Now, the god of thunder has a piece of advice for Shang-Chi, that if the Avengers ever give you a way out of a conflict, a choice to surrender, the wise move is to make that choice. Now, seeing how shit just got completely insane, Brother Saber falls back, to which Sister Dagger questions, but he says he's trying to even the odds against the God of Thunder. Thor begins to swing his hammer at Sister Staff, who tries to stop it but fails, which angers Sister Dagger as she charges towards Thor, but Brother Saber arrives with the sword. I cannot pronounce it still, so don't expect me to say it, and he throws it to the Supreme Commander. He throws it to Shang-Chi. Now, although Brother Saber said it was a replica, Shang-Chi feels a jolt of energy and power running through him, for it's the power of that guy, the God of Blades and Thunder. And with that, Shang-Chi engages Thor to mortal combat. And so here are the terms. If the Avengers win, they can search the house. But if Shang-Chi wins, Thor and the Avengers must leave them alone. Thor then wonders on how a mere mortal like Shang-Chi can stand against the God of Thunder, but Shang-Chi lets him know that he is not the only God of Thunder present. And with that, they trade blows, and their battle is fierce. Suddenly, Shang-Chi gets his sword knocked out of his hand, but within a split second, Shang is able to hold it again. Now, Thor inquires that Shang's sword moves faster than the eye, and he wants to know what sorcery is this, to which Shang-Chi has no reply. But then it dawns on him that the sword of this guy, still can't say his name, so don't expect me to say it, moves according to his thoughts. And so Shang tries something. He attempts to use his thoughts to melt Thor's hammer, and it does. Mjolnir melts right in front of him, and it's realized that the sword can alter reality. Now Shang-Chi's like, alright, this is weird, this is not what the sword is supposed to do. And so he questions Brother Saber regarding the sword, and that in truth, this isn't the actual sword that he showed him earlier. This is something different, something much more powerful. It's revealed to be the Cosmic Cube. Shang-Chi then accuses Brother Saber of stealing the cube from the Avengers, but he replies that he simply kept it. Brother Saber hates the fact that Shang turned the cube over to the Avengers, as he traded the organization's reputation to win the auction. not to mention what Chong did to Lady Iron Fan, aka his ex-girlfriend. Chong reasons that this is much bigger than Brother Saber's dating life, but Saber says that it's about their family and that Shang-Chi has let the Avengers compromise their family, and so he must choose, right here and right now, his family or the Avengers. Chong chooses neither. He chooses the truth. The Cosmic Cube is one of the most powerful and dangerous weapons in the entire universe. That is why he handed it over to the Avengers, so they can make sure it never falls into the wrong hands. Now, when it comes to reforming the Five Weapon Society, it's no easy task, and Shang-Chi needs his family by his side, people that he can trust. And by stealing the cube, Brother Saber broke that trust, and so Shang-Chi orders his warriors to turn their champion Brother Saber over to Captain America. Spider-Man appreciates that Shang-Chi did the right thing, and he always knew that's what he would do. But Chong reasons that the rest of the Spidey's friends do not think the same. But Spider-Man corrects him by saying that their friends will come around eventually. To which we see Mr. Fantastic asking Iron Man on how do they know that Shang-Chi didn't just turn his brother in to cover his tracks. To which we see Tony reply saying that they don't. And with that, the Avengers fly away. Sometime later, Sister Dagger is sitting alone, upset by the fact that Shang-Chi turned her brother over to the Avengers. Chong asks if she has time to talk, but she replies that she has no time for him, and she storms off because she is super pissed. We later see Chong disappointed in himself as his mother tries to counsel him, and he asks her whether or not, she believes family comes before truth. But sadly, his mom doesn't really give him an answer. Since she lived most of her life in a negative zone, she was basically alone, minus the bugs, because bugs are not people. But before she leaves, she advises Shang-Chi to not worry, and that his sister will come around, for she is family. And that's where we pick up in an unknown place somewhere in the east, where Sister Staff is reporting to the mysterious man who scoffs at the fact that Shang-Chi sold out his brother to appease the Westerners, further proving where his loyalties lie. The mysterious man, conveniently cloaked in shadow, goes on to say that Chong's father's blood runs too deep in him, and sooner or later, he will turn out to be just like his dad, for it's merely fate. And now he has lost the faith of both his allies and his family. And aside from his mother, Shang-Chi has no one. He's completely and utterly alone. The mysterious man then says that the time has now come to remove the head of the Five Weapon Society, to remove Shang-Chi.